Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome and thank you all for being here today. I want to recognize the folks up here. We have the City Attorney Kit Williams. We have Kara Paxton. I saw her here, the City Clerk. We have Police Chief Reynolds, Fire Chief Hardin, Devin, Howland from the Economic Vitality Office are here to help us answer questions that you may have. I see Steve Clark in the room from the Chamber of Commerce. Kyle Smith, I thought I saw him in here. One of the council members from Ward 4. First, I want to give you a brief update on the COVID-19. The Arkansas Department of Health has informed me that our first presumptive positive case of COVID-19 in Fayetteville. Presumptive positive means a test is positive, but must be confirmed by CDC. It was inevitable that COVID-19 would appear in this region. The governor told us earlier this week to expect to see cases here because of increased testing efforts. We've been proactive. We've been taking proactive steps for several weeks in this city to be prepared for this day. I declared a public health emergency last Friday to raise awareness and action. Yesterday, I added new requirements for restaurants and bars to move to 50% capacity and limit group size to less than 10. The city has developed a work plan to protect core services. Tomorrow, I am closing City Hall to the public. Many city staff are working from home also. We're staying in constant contact with emergency management teams and officials across the region. And my friends, this is a rapidly changing situation. We'll continue monitoring and evaluating new information to make decisions that protect public health and safety. I want to thank Governor Hutchinson and the Department of Health for their work on this situation and providing daily updates. I also want to thank health care workers who are working diligently to take care of our people. Your work, their work is so important, and I want them to know that we certainly appreciate you. The regulations put in place yesterday on bars and restaurants are helping with social distancing. I know these changes are hard, but our business community responded positively and quickly. Thank you for acting so quickly to make these changes. The business community is making a difference in our people. Fire marshals and police checked many locations last night, and compliance with the new regulations was found to be strong. We received no public calls about bars and restaurants not complying. I am proud to see so many members of the business community taking this action to protect health and safety. Please keep checking our website for updates on this situation. It is evolving, and so is our response. And my friends, please stay home if you can. Employers, please allow your workers to work remotely as much as possible. Follow CDC and Arkansas Department of Health guidelines for protecting yourself and others. We're in this together, and we will certainly get through this together. I will take any questions that you might have.
Mayor Jordan, can you give us any information about the person who was tested positive, the age, where they might have contracted the disease?
And that would be a question for the health officials.
They've not told you anything yet, as far as who it was and how many cases they might even have in the city itself?
I don't have that. I mean, I know it was an individual, for sure. It was an individual, and yeah. Yes?
Do we know the testing capabilities we have in Washington County? How many tests we can do here? Where?
I'm not sure I can answer that. If I had someone in the health department, I could answer that. But I'm not sure. Does anybody know that? Okay, this question over here.
Mayor, are you worried about the negative economic impact on small businesses, seeing the new regulations from yesterday?
Well, you know, I'm always concerned. I certainly want our economy to do well in this city. And this kind of thing, you know, was totally unexpected. So we don't know really the full impact of this to later on, because I think around 65% of what we have here is from sales tax dollars, and that's people spending their money here. So, and we get taxes from that. So am I concerned about that? Yes, I am. I think we will see a downturn. But we're seeing a downturn all over the United States. Devin, I think you might be able to address that, Mike.
Yes, I'd like to add to that, sir. You've already seen certain numbers of bars and restaurants close, and they're really the leaders here, setting the example for the rest of the community. It's an extremely selfless decision for them to do that. And so when we think about occupancy and restaurants and bars doing their part to slow the spread of COVID-19, we have some phenomenal examples of leaders that stepped out days ago to make this decision.
Just to follow up on that, you said they were selfless for what they were doing, just to kind of repay them on that. If this continues and they're not bringing in checks, is there anything from you guys' side to try to help them out a little bit?
You can take that, Mayor. When you think about any effective response in a disaster or an emergency situation, it's a layered response, and the building of those layers has already begun. You know, it started earlier in the week, Mayor Jordan's suspension of utility bills and disconnections. You've seen all the utility providers as well do similar suit. You know, to add to that, we don't want people who are concerned and looking for answers to have to Google and search for those answers. We have a centralized hub on the website that has resources. We update it every single day, multiple times a day. Furthermore, the state has also come in and added in waiving unemployment insurance, the wait period, as well as the work search requirement. So we're seeing benefit there. Also, as the governor mentioned a few moments ago, he's done a formal request for SBA on the economic injury disaster loans. Our contractors and our teammates over at the Chamber of Commerce and Startup Junkie Consulting have already begun to expedite that process so that we can provide answers in a webinar fashion that confirms the social distancing guidelines. The data collection that we began last week helps tell the story of what these businesses are feeling. Furthermore, the Department of Commerce, Secretary Mike Preston announced a slew of programs that are coming in, and that was in the press conference earlier today. Our Chamber of Commerce will be on a call at 3:30 with them to learn more, and we'll continue to report back.
What other questions do we have?
Mayor Jordan, Little Rock enacted a curfew. Do you see something like that happening here in Fayetteville?
At this time, I'm not looking at the curfew. What other questions do we have?
Mayor, have you had any conversations yet about what you might, you allocated the $3 million for the emergency fund. Have you all had a chance to talk about what you might need to use that for yet?
Not yet. It'll be used for, I know we're going to buy some emergency equipment and things that we need as we go along with this. And you know, Stacey, I don't have a great answer for you on that. As things pop up, then we will look at whatever we have to do to alleviate whatever problems that might occur. I mean, this is a constantly moving thing, and so we just kind of roll with it and do the best we can with what we have. But we do have $3 million to work with, so that's going to help us be a significant help in this. Yeah, the Chiefs, you want to weigh in on that?
I'll weigh in on it. So with the emergency funds, right now, we're early in the year with our budget. And so our operating budget is sound. And so we'll continue to move along with it. If we get into this a little bit further along and we need to expend overtime for staffing with the police department, then we may have to dip into that reserves and ask the mayor to spend some of that money for staffing and personnel needs. But right now, we're in good shape at the police department as it relates to our operating budget for 2020 and then also our equipment.
And we're in the same situation. We too have plenty of money right this minute. What we are planning on, what we could potentially use it for would be the very thing he said. Fire departments across the country have seen a 40%, they're really hit hard, a 40% reduction in workforce, which would mean we would be hiring lots of overtime to keep our core services going. So overtime is where I would be, expecting to use it if we did.
What other questions do we have?
I have a question for both chiefs. In the current situation, have your officers and firefighters had to adjust their protocols with respect to dealing with the public out on either law enforcement calls or ambulance or fire?
Yeah, I'll take that first if you don't mind, Brad. Yeah, John, we have. I sent out a correspondence on Monday to the community to, number one, let them know that the community's safe. You know, that's what we do. It's always what we've done. It's what we continue to do, is provide that safety and security for our community. But in order to do that, we've got to protect our number one resource. And of course, our number one resource is our officers. And as you know from the CDC guidelines, the World Organization of Health, it's you know, the best defense against that is social distancing. And so we're trying to do the best we can to protect our resources. And so some of the things that we've done is we've expanded our online reporting, our live call-in reporting. Before, that would be optional for some of our community members, but on non-emergency calls, we're going to make that mandatory. And I've sent out a list of those types of crimes that they'll have to call in and speak to a live report taker or do it online. Also with emergency type calls, as it relates to medical, we are going to stage and wait for the paramedics to take the lead on that. That's not something that we normally do as the police. We normally run into every situation. So that's one situation where we saw an opportunity to also have some social distancing as well. Another thing that we've implemented is our personal protective equipment. So you'll see our officers in some situations that may be wearing gloves, they may be wearing an N95 type face mask, surgical type mask, also eye protection to try to protect them as well. We've canceled all of our community events at least for the next 30 days. We've also canceled our tours of our police departments and our ride-alongs as well. So it's a fluid and it's a dynamic situation for the police department. We continue to evaluate on a daily basis. We have daily briefings, not only with the mayor, but with my staff as well, and make adjustments where we possibly can. And so we'll keep the community updated on any other types of situations that we alter basically our business model. You're welcome.
So we, like the police, I mean, we're cut from the same cloth. I mean, we all have a servant's heart, and we do. I mean, we run right in. So what we've had to teach our guys is slow down. You know, I mean, back up, don't rush right in. Let's ask questions. Let's make sure that we're not running in there needlessly. Now, that's not to say if they need help, I mean, it's a dangerous job, and they're not going to bat an eye, regardless if they do have COVID-19. They're not going to slow down. They're going to go on business as usual. They're going to take precautions, but you're going to get the service that you deserve. As far as steps are taken, we too are trying to limit exposure. As we're working hand in hand with Central EMS, we're communicating. We will stand back. Their paramedic, who's going to be the highest trained on the scene, will make first contact and talk with them and make sure everything's okay. And this, of course, is if they've answered a series of questions that would alert us. A normal call is just going to be a normal call. Some of the things we've changed is our response, like, for instance, to nursing homes. The nursing homes have been great to step up and help us with this. You know, I mean, that's the weakest and the sickest among us are in the extended care facilities. And the last thing we'd want to do is expose them to something that we unknowingly had gotten. So we're having them meet us at the door when possible. We're taking steps as far as safety, you know, our PPE. We're making sure that we're, you know, wearing the equipment that they've been issued. Anyway, that's probably most of the steps that we're taking.
Yes.
Mayor, you said that none of the restaurants have been found out of compliance so far with the new regulations. If they were to be found out of compliance, would they be penalized in any way?
I think the city attorney can answer that.
Well, just like any other ordinance, someone violates an ordinance, then there are potential penalties. Obviously, with a city ordinance, it's a very small penalty. Maximum fine would be $500 or $250 a day for repetitive things. But basically, what we've seen, and the mayor's just told you, is very good compliance, and we expect to continue to see that. Fayetteville has always worked together very well. I'm just very happy to see our business community doing such a good job now. And I think under Mayor Jordan's leadership, we're going to continue to see that. So we're asking people to do the right things, and we're not really making any threats here. We're sure they're going to do the right things.
What other questions do we have?
We have a question for you. I know that some communities have gone to this to-go style situation at all restaurants. Could that be a possibility here in Fayetteville?
Well, I think the governor clarified that today in his press conference. He said that no cities would be given that authority, that he would be making that decision himself. I think we watched it, and that was his position. And so at this point in time, I do not have the authority to shut down businesses across the city. That is going to be up to the governor, and I will let the city attorney also weigh in on that one.
You know, as we pointed out, and as the mayor pointed out when he first announced his policy, he's not closing any restaurants down or any bars down. He doesn't feel like that's necessary. He's asking them to comply with the CDC recommendations. I think it was reasonable regulations that he came up with, and I congratulate him for that, so that they can still operate and serve people and have their employees still work. And so I don't think it's in the cards anywhere where the governor, or where Mayor Jordan would want to close our restaurants and bars at this point.
Yes.
Just kind of follow with that a little bit as well. Some of these mom and pop shops here that are going to be going through this, you mentioned some of the programs from the state and other programs to help them out, but still might not be enough. Folks are worried about possibly losing jobs. So what contingency plans are in place should that start to happen?
What we're focusing on right now, when you think about a disaster recovery and emergency recovery, we mentioned there's phases. And right now, we're not only looking at short term, but preparing for those more intermediate, medium term that look at the next few weeks and the next few months. And addressing those that may not qualify for a specific program is going to be our big effort. And those efforts in search have already begun underway. We're not going to wait for a program to fix that. We're going to proactively search for those solutions, whether that's engaging the private sector, engaging the other members of the business community that might be able to help. And so that's another piece of advice that I have. If you find that your business is not qualified for a certain program, contact us, let us know why. Contact the chamber, contact myself or Startup Junkie Consulting. We want to know, because as we collect that data, that's going to enable us to better fill those holes. Furthermore, I wanted to add all of our business retention and expansion programs. The chamber leads the primary one in regards to employers, and I had a great call with them earlier today. They were proactive in this. Both of those are beginning. My business development manager, Chung Tan, is hitting retail and restaurants. Startup Junkie Consulting began surveying small businesses last week. Not only is this good because we want to make sure that not only are they okay, but what can we do to help? This is going to enable direct lines of communication back to them so that they don't have to find it as these programs become available. But the moment they do, they will be on our resource page of the website.
Okay. Yes. Stacy, you had a question?
When you were talking about keeping an eye on how businesses are doing, what exactly are we looking at? Are we just looking at the normal sales tax revenue, or how are you keeping track of how businesses are doing?
So sales tax revenue is not going to be something, sales tax revenues collections, it's a 3-month run. And so there's a sale period, collected, then reported at the state. What right now we're doing is we have been in conversation with a lot of business, and I've gotten hundreds of emails. So that's one way that we're tracking. Please keep talking to us. Please keep calling our partners so that we can get that information back out to you. We began last week with the initial launch of a survey through Startup Junkie, and that was at the request of the Small Business Administration to go ahead and begin to show the economic impact that COVID-19 was having in Northwest Arkansas. We did that, and now we're on to the economic injury worksheet. If your business has not filled that out, it is on our website. The Chamber's broadcast it out to their entire network. It's on our site as well. Please do that. That really helps us show the true numbers and the true hurt behind this, and it's going to be important to know that as we progress forward.
What else? Okay. Oh, sure.
What kind of conversations are you having, Mayor, with other Northwest Arkansas cities? It seems there's kind of a patchwork of sorts as far as responses go.
You know, Stacy, I'm just trying to do the best I know how to do for this city right now, and I'm sure every mayor in this region is doing the same thing. We have a task force that's been put up that Brad can Chief can talk about. Chief, you want to talk about the task force?
I'd be happy to. I didn't bring my notes with me, but I can go over what we met about and discussed. We brought Chief Jenkins, actually from Rogers, was the brainchild behind it, and he said, you know, we need to get everybody together in one room, people that can make decisions. We had judges, we had county officials, mayors, we have sheriffs, every representative, different representatives from the different hospitals. We had the 61st Civil Support Team there. 3 different representatives from the Department of Health. We had Steve Clark was there from Chambers. So we had lots of representation there, and it was a really, really good, productive meeting. We sat down, we discussed the effects, the impacts, the different approaches that each representative was taking, and what we could do to lessen the impact. And the main thing we did was we connected a lot of people together to where they could make a response and work together, so we can try to approach and all go in the same direction instead of be going different directions. And we also screened each other before we went in there, so we were following our own advice, and we had social spacing, so we were following the advice that we put out to you. So.
Anything else?
And you all aren't getting, like, people aren't calling home, or calling and staying home, like, to a significant degree where you, like, affect your operations for any city departments, or people are coming to work when they need to.
But with the police department, we have not seen a reduction in our workforce, and so we're monitoring that every day. We monitor our officers when they come in at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., monitor them for their temperature to make sure that they don't have a temperature, also monitoring their health to make sure that they're not having suffering from any asthmatic type conditions, sore throat, cough, sneeze, things like that. If they are, we're sending them home so they don't infect our workforce, because I'm sure it's just not the COVID-19 that's out there to be worried about right now. There's other things this time of year. So, so far, to answer your question in short, Stacy, no, we have not.
Nor have we.
And Stacy, on the COVID-19 information page, you can find a list of all of the actions that various city departments have done. And to speak into a case of our department, we think about traditional economic development operation in the city, the Chamber's doing one certain thing, Startup Communities doing some certain thing, Chung Tan and myself are doing different things. And so our capacity to be able to respond is actually up a lot, because we're all pouring our energy in together and focusing on these common goals.
Anything else? Okay. I just want to leave one word for you all out there, a last word. Is that, last night it's interesting. This has been a very stressful time. We'll say that. But this city has been through stressful times before. And we are a strong people. And we're going to get through this thing together. And an example of that, I'm a reader, and I was up late last night, and I always go back to this when I'm under a stressful time. One of the things I read a long time ago, sculptors used to chisel very beautiful statues, but they weren't very good at it at first. And what they would do, they would take that granite dust and they would melt candle wax, and they would put it together, and they would put it all over that statue, and it would be beautiful and perfect. And then they would try and sell that. But the person buying that statue, the first thing they did was take a candle and apply a heat to that statue. And when that heat was applied, the imperfections came out. And the person that was selling that sculpture, they had a choice to make. They could sell it short, or they could go back and chisel some perfection. And the heat's applied to us right now, but the heat was applied to us in 2009 when we went through a recession. The heat was applied to us when we had a $2 million ice storm in this city. The heat was applied then, but I will tell you this, we're going through some shaky times, and some people are scared, and there's a few imperfections out there, but I will tell you this about this city. This city was about to go back and carve out a masterpiece of character and strength. And we're going to take care of those that need to be taken care of. And we're going to feed those that need to be fed. And we're going to make sure that the children are taken care of. And we're going to make sure that the senior citizens are taken care of. And we're going to protect, and we're going to serve, and we're going to get through this. And we're going to get through it together. So thank you all for coming, and on we go.